Now back to the show. This is The Law Show on CL 650.
She's gone. I better learn how to face. She's gone.
That is a great track. She's gone, Hall & Oates. And we are back with David Halkett from McQuarrie Hunter, a partner and in the family law division is what you call it?
Department,
okay.
Yep.
At McQuarrie Hunter, which is in Surrey
Yep.
Central.
Yeah, it's just above SFU. It's the used to be the only building you could see when you were driving anywhere else on top of the Surrey Plateau, I guess, for lack of a better term. But it's right at the Surrey Central SkyTrain station. It used to be the old Surrey Place Mall. Now it's called Central City Mall.
Central City Mall, yeah. And it's turned that whole area around.
Oh, yeah. And with City Hall coming right across the street and the new convention center coming in, it's a totally different area than when we moved in.
Now, you're not a Surrey-centric. I mean, you're Surrey-centric, but you have people come from all over.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Maybe if we did a poll, 40% of our clients be Surrey, but we're a regional firm as well. I have clients north of Fraser, south of Fraser. We can act for anyone from anywhere.
Right. All right. Now, it's a new year, 2017.
Time flies.
And it sure does. And this is your phone ringing this time of year. What is it about the psychology of certain times of the year where people decide to make a move when it comes to their relationship?
Well, I guess there could be a number of reasons. The cynical side is they didn't have a good Christmas time. A lot of fights at Christmas time and such. But I think a lot of people, if they have young children, it's like, I want to have one last good Christmas with the children. You don't want to separate and ruin the kids' Christmases forever. So you do it in the new year. It's also a stressful time.
Is it also a New Year's resolution? I'm not going to be with that person anymore?
It could be, I guess, yeah. And
I'm going to lighten the load in 2017.
It's the one New Year's resolution people don't break.
No.
You're right. But, I think Christmas and the holiday season is a stressful time.
Sure.
I always take the time off, but it seems like you weren't really off because you're running around doing stuff and such, especially if you have children in certain sporting activities. There's Christmas tournaments, and you just never stop. And I guess that they have the one last Christmas together, and then they realize it's not going to work. And they may have made the decision long before. They just don't make it official until the new year. Now,
people are breaking up and divorcing, and it's the couple. But how much influence do in-laws have? Like, are sometimes people breaking up because of the in-laws? Do you see that?
It certainly can be, especially where our office is. We have a lot of from the Indo-Canadian community, and a lot of in that the daughter-in-law moves in with the husband and the husband's family.
Yeah.
And often in a lot of my clients, that's been an issue. And
they just don't gel, right?
And I think anytime there's the husband then seems to feel, often they tell me they're caught between the wife and the mom, divided loyalties, so to speak.
And the son will often go with the mom.
Yeah.
Because the mom's doing all the cooking and the cleaning all the time, right?
So that can be that. And there's also times where the in-laws have given money or loaned money, and then they start demanding it back, and then there's arguments over gift, and so there can be a lot of issues there. And of course, we're always, no matter what, we're always children of our parents, and we tend to listen to them a lot more than we would other people, and so that can cause us some problems as well, because they can needle us regarding the in-laws.
Now, do you also get an inequality in power in a family based on money? For example, if you have somebody go into a home and the family has some money, they're exerting, like you've talked about this on other shows about there's different kinds of, what's the word? Harassment, right? Some of it can actually...
Violence, yeah.
Yeah, violence. It could be actually monetary.
Oh, yeah,
like
for
you're
sure.
doing this because I'm paid for this house and you're living under my roof. And...
Oh, yeah, there's always going to be, in any relationship in some aspects, one is going to be dominant over the other. And money is the old saying, money's the root of all evil. And often there is a lot of hassles, like, one can control the funds and the other person just, you're not going to spend unless I agree to it. I'll cut off your credit card, that kind of stuff. And it can cause a lot of problems that way. And especially if you've moved into the home that's been bought by the parents for you, this was our home, we gave it to you, and there can be those kind of things.
Now, what are the other hot times of year? I think we learned that it was after summer break.
Yeah, because, you've had your one last summer holiday together, new school year, we can have all that. They just break up at that point. It's pretty steady most of the year, but those are the two long, September and January. Also, I do some child removal work. Sometimes for the government, sometimes for the parents. And that's when often the teachers see the children back at school or in January and the other, and then they can see if they have concerns about abuse or neglect, they're visible in the community again. So
they see a change.
Exactly. And they can make the report, then the investigation happens, and the rest.
So you've been doing family law for 20 years. Have you seen a change, a trend? Like, was it all about, you have three things. You said kids, money, and sexual
issues. Yeah.
Issues that having affairs outside of them.
And it can be a whole bunch of things. With the rise of internet stuff and porn and that, there's those kind of issues, right? It's all over the place.
So 20 years ago, was it fighting over kids and money? Has it changed now?
It may be a scale, but the same issues.
It's the same stuff?
Yeah, and a lot of those are all tied in together, so they're not separate. There may be an issue that you're sending that you've overstretched yourself. You're sending the kids to private school. You're sending them, they played too many sports. They're overscheduled. You're working too many hours to make it up. I've had situations where I've acted for stevedores and
what's that?
Dock workers.
Oh, dock workers. Yeah, okay.
And they can work the overnight shifts, and they can make better coin working overnight, except they're never home. I always joke with my wife that, we'll never get divorced because we don't see each other enough to fight. But then, tongue in cheek, of course, because when you don't spend enough time together, that causes problems as well. So, it's all tied in. Money issues will always cause problems. If you're fighting over money because you can't afford it, you're in debt, it's always going to cause stresses.
Are you seeing trends? Because we hear here on the radio and we see ads in the paper about debt consolidation companies. Are people just taking on too much in terms of money, too much in terms of activities? Like, it just seems like I just look at my neighborhood and the families that I know and the activities that their kids are in. We never had that when I was growing up. I mean, people are just running from one event to another. And then on top of that, you have the financial, because a lot of these are, it's not just kids' activities, but, people are just acquiring more stuff.
Well, that's it. Like when you think, when I think back, we didn't have portable phones. We didn't have internet. You and I are roughly the same generation.
It's not
born
that
in the
long ago,
mid-60s.
really. Yeah,
exactly. When you think that we had one car when I was young, I lived in Montreal, better transit, but still, we could take that. Now my wife and I have two cars, two SUVs, two car payments. Then we have, you take, just go on a local drive holiday, you fly everywhere. It's just, so there's a lot of those extra things. We overschedule ourselves to some extent. Like,
you've got a busy career, and then you've got a son who plays hockey.
Exactly.
I'm just using you as an example.
That's exactly true. And like my son will say, well, I'm one of the only kids that doesn't play two scheduled sports, because some still play soccer and hockey. I said, there's only so many hours in the day. You can go and play your basketball at school as your secondary sport. That's fine. But, there's only so many hours in a day. And I think we have too many parents that are too harried running around everywhere, and that just causes breakdowns between them.
So you have mom and dad are both working. They're layering on debt in our very expensive city. And then you have kids that are overscheduled.
Yep.
And then it seems to me that school is way down the list.
Yep.
And then you get a kid who comes back and they're not doing well in school, or maybe they have a learning issue or something. Then you've got that on top of it. I mean, the challenges that we have in a modern society, it just seems to be like our lives are so much busier, more complex than they were even 25 years ago.
For sure. And, we're so analyzed on everything, in our, even when you figure it seems like a minor issue, but no smoking in the car seems like a good thing, but we never would have thought of regulating that years ago. Everything is regulated. We're all afraid of everything.
Everything's politically correct. That's a
exactly.
big one too.
And so, I think that no one sits back and just enjoys life. When you and I were young, we had 13 TV stations. Now you got 400. You still can't find anything to watch.
Yeah.
It's just, life has become, it's easier in many respects, but it's also become a lot more complex and causes problems, which we see in my practice.
So the the trend of divorce is still about the same statistically?
Yeah, I think for first divorces, it's lower. I think I've read studies that maybe 45% of divorces, of marriages in Canada end in divorce. But first marriages, it's way less. Mm-hmm. By the time you've gone through it once, the second one doesn't seem as bad. And people also don't necessarily get married now. They have a common law relationship, so it doesn't count in the stats, even though that relationship has ended.
And you see those too.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you do believe that the stigma of getting divorced a second time, been there, done that, whatever.
It's the the fear of the unknown isn't there anymore. You've gone through it once.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have what's your best client? Do you have someone that's been married 3 times? And you've dealt on all 3 matters?
No, I did have one guy. It was his 5th.
What?
Yeah, he was married 5 times.
But you didn't represent him all 5 times.
No, I did his fourth and 5th.
Did he say to you, "I've learned or not learned"?
No, I think it's because deep down we all still believe in love, and we figure this will be the one that'll work out, and it just sometimes doesn't.
You'd figure after the 4th time you realize he's not marriage material.
Yeah, well, I know family law lawyers, 2 or 3 of them that have been married 3-4 times.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Do you think you have an insight into life being a family law lawyer that gives you a little bit of expertise?
Well, I think what it does is I can usually tell when people have separated. People I know that others may not notice some of the cues. I also know that what it would be like if I did decide to separate. Mm-hmm. So it may very well be that I may be upset, but I know what it's going to be far worse otherwise. And, you just deal with the problem and you work at it.
Do you see guys, especially guys, who get to a certain age and they've been married and they're thinking, I'm missing out on all this single life.
Yep.
And they go out and they do it. They break up their family and they get divorced, and then they're out there and they're lonely now.
Yeah, the grass is never as green as we think it is next door. And I think that, humans were never meant, I don't think, to be with one person for 50, 60 years. In the old days, we just died earlier. So that, you just replaced.
Got rid of him.
Exactly. and even when you think of children now, we never think of naming, if we had one child die, naming another one the same name. But they used to do that 150, 200 years ago because death was a part of your life.
More common, yeah.
Whereas, now we're living longer, we're with the same people longer. We have many more stresses potentially in life than before. And sometimes people think it's just easier to walk away from the stress.
David Halkett is our guest today, family law at McQuarrie Hunter, and this is The Law Show. We'll pick it up next on CL 650.
There's more of the show still ahead. This is The Law Show on CL 650.